and started trying to like piece things together. And it's like, oh, I got in this like for completely the wrong reason, right? I think I'm working towards, I think I'm applying my process, but really my process is based on like my emotional decision making and not like the process itself, if that
Gotcha.
makes sense.
No, it does. And what's very interesting
Instead
is
of
that so like
trust right
when
now.
you start to see more progress or yeah, more progress towards your trading where you were
Start
no
with the
longer
innocence
blowing up, you were
first.
just like kind of making some, maybe coming back down a little bit, kind of like treading water, if you will. And then when you took trading, journaling more seriously on your mindset is when you start to see like more faster growth,
Exactly.
right? What exactly, besides what you were feeling before you got in the trade, were you actually tracking? Because I know a lot of people are probably hearing you say this, and they're probably like, "Well, I've blown up 5 accounts. I track my trades." But what do you mean when you journal specifically? Like, can you give me an example from today, like a trade you took, and like what do you like in terms of just how you journal from the beginning to end?
Yeah, so the number one thing, actually, what I do, like I call it a report card, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm sure you know from Bellafiore,
yeah,
his report card thing, and that's yet another thing that I've taken from another experienced trader, and just like built into my own. And so I give myself a daily score, just an overall score, and then an individual score on each trade.
okay.
And so it's just A, B, C, D, E, F, or A,
Like
B, C,
regular
D, F,
grades.
right?
Okay.
And then I have all like the metric stuff on TradingView and whatnot. And so I this is strictly for what went on with me.
Okay.
And it starts off with my daily routine. Did I follow my daily routine? Were there were there any parts of my routine that I decided to skip today?
What is that? What do you mean your daily routine?
So my daily routine just is basically I just wake up, go downstairs,
Yep.
play with my cat, drink some coffee, and then I meditate.
Nice.
And
We're
that
meditate brothers every morning.
yeah.
Yep.
So meditation was another thing that I included on top of journaling that like really just like helped me like kind of get back on that trajectory of like just consistency and profitability.
Nice.
And so I would definitely say I owe a lot of my success to just like being able to slow down, meditate, and imagery. Really like focusing on like that's part of my my routine. I don't know if you've read the newest Market Wizards book, but
No, I haven't.
it's highly recommended.
Okay.
Jack Schwager picked some amazing futures traders in the beginning of that book that talk about what imagery and meditation, and that really solidified it for me. Like recently, in terms of like using imagery with my trading is
Give me an example. What do you mean?
So I sit down in the morning. I do just a quick couple minute meditation, just clear my head. It's just some breathing techniques. And then I kind of scan the market, and then I kind of walk away from my desk and just imagine like every scenario possible, right? What if I get jammed up at the open, right? I've been jammed up before.
Yeah, true.
Right? And so like it's just emotionally preparing myself. I like to think of it as like, just like keeping my heart rate at bay.
Yeah.
Almost, because like the second that starts to spike, like
Yeah.
I know like I'm out of my comfort zone. And so it's just listening to yourself, man.
Dude, I
You know
love
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
And
What you're doing, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No,
what
you're
you're
good.
doing is so I just started doing, it's funny you bring up the whole idea of visualization, because I just started adding that to my meditation, but not in
great.
this way, but I love it you do it this way, because now I want to try it, because what you're doing is you're visualizing all these scenarios, because they all have happened at one point in
Yeah.
our life,
Yeah.
and then I'm sure I interrupted you because I'm
No,
not
you're
trying to be
good.
rude, but
You're good, man.
you said, I'm sure you're also visualizing how you're going to react to when that happens.
Right.
So that way when it does happen, you're not reacting anymore out of emotion because you planned it out.
I never want to be surprised.
I love it. Like
know what I mean?
if you're listening to this, like you probably don't know how important that is, what he just said, but you need to go rewind and listen to it again, because that right there, if you haven't been training for over like a year, you probably like, that doesn't matter. But if you've been training for more than a year, like, I need to try this.
Yeah.
You definitely need to try it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, my bad.
No, it's I think it's really important. It's something that's not only, I talk about like having, that addictive personality,
Yeah.
and like that, having so much focus on one thing can like create imbalances in your life. And having meditation and breathing, and just and walking yourself through your day, or your trades, in your head before it all goes down, is like is is such a good way to like keep yourself even keeled,
Yes.
right? Um, I never want to get in a position where I think I'm too good or I'm not good enough,
Gotcha.
right? Um, like I just want to be a participant of the market, and the meditation just allows me to just recognize that every single morning, because sometimes I can get that twisted if I'm on a good run.
Yes.
I can think like I know more than I do, and then if
Right.
if the
Oh,
market's slow, or I'm just not really like hitting the trades I should be, or whatever. I can think like, maybe I've lost it. I don't have an edge, which is like such a dangerous road to go down. Like
I deal with
losing
that sometimes.
confidence. Yeah,
Yeah.
losing confidence in yourself is
for sure.
like one of the worst things,
Losing confidence
right?
is
Um, as you know, I'm sure.
one of the
And
biggest
so
things that
it's
kills
I look at
traders.
every day as like a search and destroy mission
Because
for
like when
trading,
you get
right? It's
consistent
my emotions,
losses,
right? So like
sometimes it might not turn into
that's all
motivation.
meditation is doing for me. It's like looking for those like potential faults, constantly like Mark Douglas has. I don't know if
Love.
you know Trading in Stone, and
Yes,
his,
dude.
his his principles. He talks about constantly monitoring your susceptibility to make
Yeah.
mistakes, right?
Yes.
And if you can do that, like you can avoid mistakes, right? And so, or avoid it, avoid big ones.
Yes.
And so you're always going to make mistakes, but it's just another tool in the toolbox that and it helps me.
And I interrupted you earlier, but I want you to continue on the so you meditate, then you look at the charts and you meditate and visualize what happens.
Mhm.
So is that the routine that you're grading yourself in your journal? Is that what you mean?
Essentially, and then step by step is like, was what did I take this trade on, based on impulse, was an emotional, and that's exactly what I'm grading it on, not by P&L,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
P&L is just P&L.
Okay.
That's just that I can look at that on my
Okay.
but I have to create an emotional curve to look at, right? Like and I always want to try and stay on like an emotional basis. I never want to get too far up. Um,
Yes.
it's just I want to create the best uh, like vehicle for myself, to trade it based on.
A buddy of mine, his name's Scott. He's been trading for like I don't know 30 years. It surprises me that when I talk to him, he's like, I just had a phenomenal day yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna downsize today. And he'll tell me that, and he's been
Mm-hmm.
trading forever, but he knows himself.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, yeah, I downsize a lot because I mean I don't really need to force it. And I can tell I'm happy and excited,
Right.
so I may trade different.
And when you tell yourself that you're not going to force it, then like and a good opportunity comes and it just naturally happens. Versus like thinking like, oh, I just killed it
Yes,
yesterday, I
dude.
better kill it today.
People don't get that.
Right.
You just hit it on the head because so many people are going to do a good trade
Absolutely.
and then see everything as the next best trade.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the and that's back to where that finding those faults in yourself, and just and not just your execution, but like what's deeper, what's going on with you. Like you had bad execution, but you have a process, right? So like if you have a process but your execution's off, obviously you have to dig deeper.
Mm.
And most of my trading faults are going to come from in here.
Mm.
And so I have to figure that out before anything.
So I want to ask you this because I know I don't want to keep you too long, but I
You're good.
do want to get into some of these things. So you joined 7 Points, right?
Yeah, September 2019.
And does anything change? Like, do you notice anything in yourself that changes once you join 7 Points? Is it anything different?
So back to that, what I was talking about earlier about like being around people, and being like motivated by other people's discipline and stuff. I knew I wanted to get with a firm kind of in the beginning of 2019. I had applied to SB
Yep.
a couple times. It got denied a couple times. And then, I had reached out to Mike, and that was a real long process. But I knew if I could get around guys that had been doing it for a long time and like be like physically around them
Yes.
and like and just learn that from them and be able to pick their brains whenever I wanted, that I knew if I could do that, I could put myself on on a path.
Yes.
And so in beginning of 2019, I decided, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like,
Yes.
I'm gonna go all in, because I knew I had to. It couldn't be 1 foot in and 1 foot in the personal training where it's supposed to work. So I knew that I started applying. I started just making sure I was tracking every single thing so that I had data to show.
Yep.
And everything. And about summer hits, and the house I was living in, and I was living in California at the time, and I was living with a buddy, and he was going to sell the house. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna move to Arizona, live with my parents for a summer, and just try and just get hired somewhere. And so I moved in with my parents when I was 10 years old, which was a humbling experience, but I just knew that this is what I wanted to do, and this is like the where I wanted to be, or what I wanted to work towards. And so I had seen Mike Katz actually post on Twitter one time, like, "Hey, we're hiring for the New York office." And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes. So I just quit my job. I'm leaving my parents' house. I'll go wherever. And so I messaged him and kind of got the cold shoulder a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
it looks like you're on the right path, but it's trading real
Yes.
small. And he was like, "Why don't you just message me every week? Stay in touch with me." And that was like my golden ticket. I was like, "Oh, you want me to stay in touch with you?" And it was probably a mistake for him, because every Friday for the longest time I would email him an update on my week, just charts, a full breakdown of like what I did. And
Awesome.
he probably didn't read a lot of them, or I don't know if he read any of them, but well, one day I decided, I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go get my SIE. I studied for that and sent that to him. And he was like, oh, he saw that and was like, okay, and maybe
He's
this kid is
serious.
serious. Like,
Yeah.
all right. And set up a phone call with Nico. And it wasn't, I'll be honest, that interview didn't go the greatest, because it sounded like he had already hired people. And like, I was like one out of a ton of people that applied.
Yeah.
The last minute they took me in, right before like the San Diego office opened. So it was that was, and it sounds silly, but that was like actually a very emotional point in my life, because I was like, I had accomplished something that like I was working so hard for.
Yes.
And it was really just to get my foot.
Yep.
And that's all I knew. That's all I needed.
So you got your foot in the door.
I got my foot in the door, and then I remember this was probably around January 2020. Stan, Krishna,
Yep.
and a couple of other guys, Riley, who's another manager at 7 Points, who I've all been able to become close with. But I got to trade with them, around them in San Diego together. And I remember like the first day I was sitting next to Stan, I had like my best day ever. And then from there, it was just like, me and him were sitting next to each other, and we were trading the same stock. And he's got like 10 times the size that I've got.
Right.
And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, like I just need to add a little bit more. Right. And
Yeah.
and then, I had my best day that day. And it just like, it slowly started to click. I'm like, okay, like, the opportunity, like I came here for a reason,
Right.
and that is to excel. And so like, I'm gonna start, like, I have the consistency, I have these numbers behind me, like I just need to like show that I have the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And like, and show that like, I have what it takes to excel in this very fleeting business. Right. I posted something the other day about from one of the market whispers books, Paul Tudor Jones talks
Mm-hmm.
about. He says like, I'm very aware of how ephemeral the successes in this business, right, is how fleeting it is,
Yes.
right? And so being around all these guys who've been doing it for so long and seeing what they do was just like such a boost for me, like knowing like, okay, like this can work, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I can do this for a long time as long as I pick off, continue to like follow the people that have done it before me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Does
that's
that make sense?
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And everyone who's watching, if you're like, who's Krishna, who's Stan, they've been on the show
Yeah.
before. Go check that episode out. We'll have links below. Great guys, great traders. But look, man, I'm gonna have to bring you back on the show
Absolutely.
because I can already tell like we're just scratching the surface right now, and I'm just like like there's so much more, right?
Yeah.
But let me ask you two more questions, and we'll wrap this up. If knowing what you know right now, okay, let's say you can go back to 2008. That was, I think, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, that's when you were kind of finding some success, but kind of treading water, but no longer blowing up, right? Well, let's just say there was no such thing as a problem. There was no, but you could go back now with that experience you have currently. So give yourself some advice. What would you tell yourself to help you get to that next level if there was no other? There's some people out there who might not have a door, right? They might not have that option.
Yeah, and I think trading's a funny thing because you don't need all those things. It's just the path that I had decided to go down. But if I were to tell myself something back then that I know now is go slow, and anything can happen. I think one of the biggest like attitude shifts I had was I mentioned trading in the zone earlier. That was a big pivotal moment of learning in my trading career. But adopting the attitude like that, anything can happen, good or bad, right? And so like you just need to make yourself available, right? And as long as like you continue to make yourself available and put in all the work outside of those market hours, like you're gonna make it work. And like just believe in yourself. Like if you can invest like because you have a certain amount of energy every day. You have a certain amount of belief every day. If you can invest all of that into you and what's in front of you, there's no way you fail, right, over time. And so it's just I think having that inner belief and just
Okay.
not
What's been your biggest, and it could be recent, but what's been like your biggest like challenge that when you finally got over really stepped it up a notch for you? You know what I'm saying? Like you could be when you were consistent, there was just something that was kind of you didn't know how bad it was holding you back until you overcome it. You know what I'm saying? Or it could have been earlier.
I think the number one thing is quieting the noise for me. Like I used to fall for all the hype, social, whatever, and I would allow price action to get me excited, and the second I started slowing down and kind of like taking a step back and getting like a bird's eye perspective of like, okay, like this is how I respond naturally to
Right.
this market information. Like maybe I need to take a step back and like think before I jump in, right? Maybe I nibble, right? And see how it goes. And like so like the idea of scaling in and scaling out, those little things and how you execute it, and what percentages you put where, really allow you to like kind of like pick it, like decide like what's working, what's not, if that makes sense. Like sift through all of the bullshit, and not only like in outside of the market, but like that's in your head as well.
Gotcha.
If that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Now, so slowing things down, I couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm nowhere near you, okay? But I will say is that like meditation has helped me a lot.
It's huge, man.
And it's I have a personality. I can get very emotional, right?
Mm.
And so that
Meditation helped me a
meditation has
lot.
helped me recognize that. And
Meditation,
here's the thing about
my
meditation. I'm
bad.
sure you agree, but like
Meditation helped me a lot.
it doesn't get
It helped me a lot with, just slowing down everything within the mind, and whatever your mind perceives, that's what you perceive. So, trying to make everything slow it down, up to speed with me. But I just go at my own pace. I never rush anything. Just go at my own pace and flow within the zone at all times. Even if I even snap out the zone, I have good awareness, and I become aware that I am zoning out. So I no, my bad. Excuse me. I regain focus and I come back in stronger. Let's look at market news before we get into. All right, so look at yesterday. Well, not yesterday, but Monday. Well, fuck it. I mean, shit. It has been on longer than a minute, so I'm good. Tomorrow we have a FOMC member speaks tomorrow. Okay, it should be a pretty, like a pretty solid moving day. Either hella buying on Monday, or it's hella selling. Just like big moves. Monday, I usually be missing out on Mondays. I used to miss out on Mondays. Mondays is like a great day to trade. Tuesday, I say that's one of the last days. Like if I'm ranking Monday through Friday to trade. Monday, probably like third. Wednesday, I put that probably at like fourth. Thursday, Friday be good. Some Tuesdays, depending on how what news is coming out. Look at this week news. So we got Monday, May 22nd. Tomorrow we got FOMC member Ballard speaks. We got Fed Logan speaks. FOMC member Barkin speaks. FOMC member Bostic speaks. Got a 3-month bill auction, 6-month bill auction. None of them really worry about. FOMC member speaking. I say pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. That'll be something to look out for. Might move the market a little bit during pre-market in the first 2 hours of the market. All right, so tomorrow, Tuesday. Well, not tomorrow, Tuesday. Well, the day after tomorrow, which is Tuesday, we have building permits. That's a high volatility. So, oh shit. What's up? Hungry? Hold on. Thursday. Quarter over quarter GDP we get. Okay, it's gonna be a good week. CPI. No, this PPI. We got PPI this week. Friday, corporate PI, year month of the month, year over year. Okay. Here we got the GDP. Our GDP, quarter over quarter. Gross domestic product measures the annualized change and the inflation adjusted value of all goods and services produced by the economy. It is the broadest measure of economic activity and the primary indicator of the economy's health. Usual effect, actual over forecast. Good for currency. So if the actual is greater than the forecast, good for our, our dollar. Last month, latest release, April 27th. Oh, it's for every month for the quarter. 4 months for the quarters and shit. Well, last month. Let me see what happened around April 27th.